one of the benefits of doing this West Ham stuff for a job is you get to react to news really, really quickly when it happens, rather than having to wait until the end of the day when you get back from work and whatnot. One of the downsides is the news can change over the course of the day, and when you're dealing with that breaking, it can change. So just please be aware I'm dealing with what I know right now. And it ain't a lot, but it's breaking news and it's intriguing news. Some of the stuff perks you up a little bit and gets your attention. And on this occasion, Kyle Walker-Peters to West Ham, Flynn Downes in the other direction. That's pretty much all we know. The composition of any such trade deal, any such swap deal is not known. Is it one player plus a little bit of money or something else? We just don't know. Those are the sort of fine details we don't know. We also don't know if it's true, but it really did get my attention, this one. For obvious reasons, West Ham are going to need a right back, which we'll discuss in just a second. I think the interesting twist on this story is that The Athletic are running a story right now with Flynn Downes saying he has unfinished business at West Ham. Basically, Flynn Downes saying he wants to stay at West Ham. And that's The Athletic. The Times are saying West Ham want to do a swap deal with Flynn Downes and Kyle Walker-Peters. It's a bit of an interesting one, really, because they both can't happen, can they? So, just to talk about an attention grabber. Look, the right-back situation is really, really simple. We've got Vladimir Southampton in as, I think it's fair to say, our only senior right-back at the moment. I think it's fair to say that is the case. Obviously, Ben Johnson is on the cusp of leaving to go to Ipswich Town, as we understand it. And I think with that in mind, it ain't enough. It's not enough. Southampton is not going to do it. There were points last season when he did really, really well. But there were points last season where he was awful. Where, let's be fair, he was targeted by opposition fullbacks. In many respects, actually, what I always perceived Southampton to be was very limited going forward, but very solid at the back. There were points last season where that sort of swapped around. He was getting assists. His crossing seemed to have improved. He was sort of doing better overlaps. Particularly, it depended. He had different partners, different dance partners last season. Then he had some points. He had Mohamed Kudus there. Obviously, some points he had Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen sometimes would go and play as a centre forward or striker, whatever you want to call it. So he had different things to contend with. But by and large, I thought last season he was attacking better. I don't know whether the stats would support that theory. I tell you what, the stats do support, and that is that West Ham were defending worse last season. Last season was our record goals conceded in the Premier League. Was it 74? I think it might have been something not far off. Certainly haven't got it wrong, and so I'm going to find out it was actually, we only conceded 40. It's about right. We got a problem at right back. He's getting on a bit in terms of right back, in terms of footballer status. He's not going to be playing for another 5 years, Vladimir Southampton. Let's put it that way. He has 1 year remaining on his contract, which we exercised an option on. He's not on big money either. It would be pretty foolhardy for West Ham to build their team around a right back who's probably not going to be here next year, who's, shall we say, on a downward trajectory. By the way, I think he's had some really good performances in the Euros. But we're dealing not only with the long term, we're dealing in the present. And I think if we were going to rely on him to get through a whole calendar Premier League season, then we might be asking for a little bit of trouble. But you also got to factor in this Lopetegui business as well, which is, look, not one of us have seen Lopetegui manage one single game for West Ham yet. So all we can go on is how he played with his previous teams, reports, that sort of thing. And he likes his fullbacks to get forward. He really does. They're a big part of his ethos. Now, the other thing he likes is retain possession. So not only does he like his fullbacks to get forward, he likes them to be really comfortable on the ball, really good at passing. That's not Southampton. It's just not. As much as he has improved last season, that's not him. You wouldn't call him a technical fullback. With that in mind, again, is he going to suit Lopetegui's style? No. But I'll tell you what, Kyle Walker-Peters would. He absolutely would. I think, he came through. They call it Kyle Walker-Peters. There was a point where Tottenham had two fullbacks called Kyle Walker on their books. What about that? Little things like that do amuse me. But I think he's a good player. Anytime I've seen him play, he's done really, really well. I think he's had his fair share of injuries, but a good player, a really, really good player. And the valuation on Flynn Downes, I've seen 12 million mentioned a few times, actually. I do wonder if people are sort of... I can't think... Surely we'd ask more than 12 million. I think that's pretty much what we paid for him at the top end. If all the clauses had been met, we'd have paid 12 million. So I wonder if people are just taking that figure and using that as to what we would sell him for in an assumption that we'd be happy to get our money back on him. I don't know. Walker-Peters in at West Ham, yeah, I think that's a really, really, really good move. I really do. And actually, I don't mind this as a deal at all, but only because it shows that West Ham are going to strengthen at right back and are looking to strengthen at right back. And we've got ourselves into this situation where we've only got one right back and we need to try and get ourselves out of it. But the other side of the story is, of course, Flynn Downes. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because I do believe that Flynn Downes is probably going to be suited to what I've heard and what I've seen in previous teams that Lopetegui has coached. He's his type of player. So when just before we bought him, I think he played a season in the Championship with Swansea. He had the highest passing success rate in the whole Championship. He was the best passer. Now, that sort of, it's not that statistic will appeal to Lopetegui. If Lopetegui sees him on the training ground and this guy's not giving the ball away, he's gonna like that. There's no doubt about it at all. Obviously, he had a season with us. I thought he did well. Again, they would get back-to-back man of the matches, and I think that was the difficult thing for Flynn Downes. He got back. I remember him getting back-to-back man of the matches, and then on the next game, Southampton started and had an absolute stinker, and he thought, well, okay, and then the next game after Souček started, and you think, okay, if a guy can have back-to-back man of the matches, Souček as a stinker, then Souček still keeps the shirt, then it's quite clear what's going on there. But you look, that was Moyes. He had his favourites. If Flynn Downes is going to believe what he's been told, and why shouldn't you, that everyone gets a clean slate, he's probably fancying that he can do a job within this system for this coach. He went to the Championship last season, of course, and he did really, really well. I mean, really well. He was outstanding. So I can understand that an Essex born and bred lad who's a West Ham fan, who can see an opportunity to play for West Ham next season, it's not necessary. It's not going to give up on that hope. If he sees that as an opportunity, then why not? Good on him. I do think it's interesting. I mean, in many respects, I think for me, it would be nice, I think, if both things happened. I don't mean a trade and Flynn Downes stays, but if Flynn Downes stays and we get Kyle Walker-Peters as well. I mean, obviously, Kyle Walker-Peters is a homegrown player, so he ticks that box, doesn't he, as well? Which is obviously is going to be important for us to do that. We signed Wes Fodringham, and to be fair, that stuff is less important if you're not in Europe, but it still carries some level of importance, and we can't just keep relying on Antonio and Aaron Cresswell to keep that quota going, because being homegrown, at some point we are going to have to start, making sure there's some younger homegrown players in and around the squad. So, and of course, with Ben Johnson going, that doesn't particularly help. But I like this one though. I like this rumour. I think it's a good one. A lot of this stuff can be largely ignored, as I said in yesterday's video. But this one definitely caught my interest. Yeah, Kyle Walker-Peters to West Ham, I like it. Flynn Downes going in the other way makes sense if Flynn Downes wants to go to Southampton. That seems like the sensible deal to do. But this stuff ain't easy to do, by the way, these swap deals. So, a Chalobah at Chelsea, the Chelsea defender. Chelsea want Murillo from Nottingham Forest. Great player, brilliant player, right? Chelsea want him. So Chelsea have offered Nottingham Forest Trevor Chalobah as a make-weight in that deal. Forest don't want to do it. It's just hard to do these deals. I think they rate Murillo at 70 million. And it's obviously you're going to have to offer him Chalobah and some money, clearly. But they are hard to do. You don't see trade deals very often. I keep saying trade deals, swap deals. you just don't see them too often because I think they're probably quite hard to do. And it's hard enough to get a signing over the line to get one player in the room with these representatives and the club. You've got a lot. So you've already got two clubs negotiating. And whilst they might agree a deal, to get a player and one set of agents to agree is hard enough. I think to get two clubs, two separate players, and it's not just it's not two agents, it's two sets of agents. A lot of these people the club have got an agent involved in the deal. So you'd have Southampton's preferred agent to try and close the deal. You'd have West Ham's preferred closer. You'd have the player's agent, and you'd have the other player's agent. You can understand how it gets completely messy. My hunch is that this won't happen, but if it doesn't, ideally, I'd still like us to go and get Carl Walker-Peters.